Simon Dixon. Simon, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. Yeah, just listening to all the exciting energy around here. I gave the opening talk, and I said it was 2011 when I gave my first talk in Bitcoin at that first conference in Prague. And over the years, we've seen the audience change significantly.
In what way?
Well, I mean, this year particularly, you had every single person in the world, I think, has heard the name Bitcoin. Yeah. I don't think there's many people that, they'll have a perception about it. They'll think it's whatever.
They may not even understand it at all, but they've heard Bitcoin.
Yeah, but 2017, pretty much anyone you spoke to in the world, wherever I went, and I probably went to 50 different countries last year, wherever you go, at whatever level, someone had heard of Bitcoin.
It was on the Big Bang Theory television series here in the States last year, which was big. I imagine a lot of people found out about it even just through that.
Somebody was telling me that it was on Ellen DeGeneres here recently.
Oh, really? Wow.
So like Simon, so we've step one, brand awareness, right?
Yeah.
We've got it.
Yeah. So, I mean, last year, speculation is a huge part of our industry. The entire financial world, Wall Street joined, fund managers all around the world need an uncorrelated asset. They see it as an asset class. Other people see it as a currency. Others see it as technology. Others see it as protocols. Some people see it as stocks, investing in these ICOs. The entire world joined and participated. So, what I saw today at this conference was, in that original conference in 2011, there was like 40 people, 20 computer scientists and 20 anarchists, I'd say. And I was giving the talk on the difference between Bitcoin and banking. Today, I really saw a return to what I think created Bitcoin. The audience, although maybe none of them, or some of them were there in those 2011, maybe none of them were there. But what I saw and what I felt was the ethos and community of what created Bitcoin. And that's what I really felt in the energy. And it reminded me, because I have to talk to big fund managers, hedge fund, things like that. And my least favorite talk is when bankers are in the audience. I try to avoid them as much as I can. But you end up there, Bitcoin's for everyone, bankers, fund managers, the person on the street, whoever. But today I really saw a return to, do you know what, these ideas, this is what created Bitcoin. And this is where it came from. And so I was really grateful to kind of remember, and it really took me back. I had a bit of nostalgia, but there was like 1,500 people in the room, from all different walks of life.
Many different countries,
But I think not necessarily everyone was from the crypto space, but everyone was talking about the crypto space, and that really drove a lot of people here. And that is really cool. That was really exciting to see.
It is really cool.
When I gave my talk today, I had a lot more energy than the talks I gave the week before or the other places. So
I could tell when you started speaking on the mic, you had quite a bit of energy. I wasn't sure if it was from Jeffrey. I'm sure it was part of it. But maybe I had the feeling too it was from your speech. And you're right. It's not just having 1,200 plus people here this year. I mean, there's been phenomenal growth in Acapulco since the first year, 4 years ago. But I don't think it is, but it's not just the anarchy side of it. Having the crypto day, I think, attracted a big portion of the attendees. Like you said, they are not necessarily on the anarchist side. Of course, a lot of them are, but just the crypto part of this drew a ton of people, I think. And I think next year it's going to be even more of a dramatic impact of crypto drawing people here. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so sorry I couldn't make it yesterday. I didn't get to see the previous 3 days. We were closing our token sale, which happened while I was here in Acapulco. But I was watching the debate. You sent me the link. I happened to send you a link, and I caught the end of the debate with Roger and core developers. And so my talk today was about scaling Bitcoin blockchain 2018 and beyond. The goal was not to talk anything about technicals. It wasn't big blocks, small blocks, Lightning Network, SegWit, not one of those that got mentioned. But actually it was about reminding people and reminding everybody here that this thing called Bitcoin, this thing called crypto, this thing called blockchain, whatever you want to call it, has to touch every single person in the world over the next, 1 year, 2 year, 5, 10 years, whatever. And we need to scale in order to touch every single person in the world.
Yeah.
Now, what I would like to see a return to is not Roger Ver slagging off Bitcoin Core in order to push Bitcoin Cash, and not Bitcoin Core slagging off Bitcoin Cash in order to push Bitcoin and their decisions. I think we need to return and remember that in order to scale to meet this demand, you know, I don't know if you saw the Alex Jones show where Roger was on there recently. Oh, no. It was a shit show. You know, if that is the perception that a new person to Bitcoin has, then, you know, we're going to slow down our growth significantly.
So was this Alex himself who,
Alex,
what was the...
you know, a newbie to Bitcoin, he stayed out of the space. He invited Roger Ver onto the show. You know, Roger Ver talking about, you know, at one hand, it's the impossible talk. At one hand, you're trying to evangelize this new technology. At the same time, you're saying, and by the way, this got corrupted, and now you got to go into this one. Yeah. And then someone else rings up and says, yeah, but Roger, you're scamming the world to push people into your coin.
That went wrong when you opened the
and I just said, look, if I was a new person listening to that, I'm out, man. Yeah, I don't want. And if Bitcoin can be corrupted, like Roger was saying, then so can Bitcoin Cash. You know, this is not the front that we need to show the world. And I would like, you know, I don't question Roger's intentions. Roger, if you want to pursue cash, digital cash, then that's a worthy pursuit, and nobody should be, you know, no one should be slagging you off for that goal. And if Core have an ultra conservative strategy that's building digital gold, we need digital gold. And guess what? Bitcoin's not going to be everything for everyone. That's what became clear this year.
Yeah,
it came clear that cash and gold, you know, there's a reason why gold has never been cash, is because they're not the same thing. You know, Bitcoin has become this global savings account, and we don't want to break with an ultra conservative strategy. And if Dash want to do cash, if Bitcoin Cash want to do cash, if Ethereum want to do cash, if anyone else wants to come along and do cash, then we should celebrate that. And you know, this Bitcoin maximalism thing that I used to subscribe to, thinking that Bitcoin could be everything to everyone, is becoming extremely damaging and pushing other agendas, and slagging off Core and slagging off Bitcoin is putting a really, really bad perception first, because it's one thing trying to explain to people how Bitcoin can change the world. It's another thing trying to say Bitcoin can change the world, but by the way, it got corrupted and you need Bitcoin Cash. You know, that is not going to work. And so, you know, and we need to stop questioning each other's intentions. I love this community. I do love this community for, you know, the fact that you can have chaos. Everyone's held to a higher standard. Whatever you do, everyone's going to question what you do. But I choose that the best way forward here is not questioning people's intentions, not saying, has Core been corrupted because development is, you know, been funded. How you fund core developers has been a problem right from the beginning. Originally, BitPay was hiring one of the core developers. It's been a constant problem. How do you fund them? You know,
they're largely,
yeah, it's been a constant problem. Now, I accept that there are certain degrees of centralization within this community that need to improve, and that are improving. It's true that a certain number of the core developers are employed by one company, and that's gone a bit more decentralized with Greg Maxwell leaving. I accept that there is centralization in mining. It was geographically focused in China, and there were large players that were controlling the manufacture of chip machinery, and also, you know, the consumers of electricity verifying the transactions. There's no doubt about it that the businesses all got together around the VC, Barry Silbert, and decided this is the future of Bitcoin. And for us, in order to, you know, do these massive amounts of transactions in Coinbase and blockchain.info and all these places, we need to reduce transaction fees. And here's how we're going to do it. And we're going to collude and put together an agreement and do that. And then the users did all get together and say, hold on, we're going to push back on that, and we're going to have this user activated soft fork. These are all centralized movement. But here's the one thing that Bitcoin has that nothing else has. Ethereum doesn't have it. Bitcoin Cash doesn't have it. Dash doesn't have it. None of them got their way, because the entire ecosystem is incentivized, decentralized, whereby if they do collude, the miners couldn't get their way, the businesses couldn't get their way. And the reason we've been debating for 3 years, and we reached this really productive phase in 2017, where the chain split And people said, well, if you want to go there, go that way. If you want to go there, go that way. And now we can just see. Let's stop arguing. Now we can see, what can big blocks do? I wish we had SegWit 2x in the end, because I'd love to see what SegWit plus big blocks could do. What can the ultra-conservative strategy do? And let's just channel our energies in the projects that excite us the most. And I would like, I just wanted to see this very unhealthy, bad perception of, we're here, we got bigger enemies. We got bigger people that are out to get this industry down.
Outside the community rather than within.
Wall Street want to take over this industry. There's no doubt about it. They've recognized this shit isn't going away. This is not going anywhere. We now, they were talking about blockchain for 3 years. They didn't build anything with blockchain. What's the first product they launched? Bitcoin trading. There's a reason for that, because Bitcoin is the most significant and important application of blockchain. And there's a load of other things that are going to take different user cases that are extremely important to that. We got big enemies here. I would like to see more harmony. I would like to see people not necessarily questioning their intentions in very deliberate, manipulative ways in order to push their agenda. I'd like people to be pushing, hey, guess what? Low transaction fees, big blocks, creating digital cash is a worthy goal, but we need to be interoperable with digital gold anyway, because Bitcoin is the only thing that was created by somebody anonymous in a time when no one cared and doesn't need any person to push it. It's the only one that can be pushed on its own. Everything else needs a person, a face, some credibility to lend to it. And that's why those are different goals, different agendas, different things. And so, my talk today was not about how are we going to scale. The way we're going to scale is we need to accept that this technology is going to touch every piece of everything in the world. It's changing the world. ICOs, that you could call them scams, you can call them whatever you want, but they've created a self-funding mechanism whereby we no longer need to beg to banks, VCs, or anyone, and we can fund ourselves for the most stupid, crazy, scammiest, whatever idea, or something that might actually go and change the world. And so now we've got this self-funding mechanism. We've got high net worth investors all around the world that own lots of crypto wealth that want to spread that to whatever wacky idea they think will work. And so we've got everything we need to touch every person in the world right now. We just need to kind of get our shit together and accept that these different products, these different projects, they may not be trying to fulfill the same goal.
Yeah.
But we can't slag each other off in order to try and push this. We can't say, Core is corrupted. Maybe they are. Hey, you know what? But the system is decentralized enough to get over that, and just pursue digital cash, pursue digital gold, pursue these other user cases, pursue ICOs. This technology, there's enough space, there's enough wealth, there's enough going on in this space to really, really, we're at that critical phase right now. Everyone knows what we're doing. Everyone's watching, and everyone's going to enter for a different reason. Maybe the financial system collapses. We need to be ready for that kind of scale. Maybe you're just trying to make a load of money. Maybe you're a fund manager that needs to hedge against the stock market crash, bond market crash, and everything that's coming through. Every single person, whether they believe in Bitcoin or not, is going to need Bitcoin. And there's only 21 million of these, and they're all fighting for them. And there's all these other user cases that are coming on and working on scaling. But we need to accept that the Bitcoin is that thing that we can't break. And everything else we can experiment with and try and create different user cases for. So that was kind of what my goal here, because, Roger did things for Bitcoin that no one knows about. He was the person buying it when no one would buy this shit. He was supporting the price, at times when no one would touch his stuff. And now all of a sudden everyone's questioning him as like some corrupt person. Now I understand if you're coming from that agenda, but just accept, I'm trying to accept that the intention of what I believe he's doing is he's trying to say that there is a way of achieving digital cash, and this is the agenda. We don't think, this development cycle that you've gone down isn't fulfilling what I originally signed up for. And then Roger on the other side, stop telling people that Bitcoin's been corrupted. It has not been corrupted. There might be, certain problems that can be improved. But if Bitcoin can be corrupted, hell, so can Bitcoin Cash. And that's my message. And and the fact is that this is decentralized. This is the most decentralized thing we have. And Bitcoin has become the world reserve cryptocurrency for cryptocurrency, which means the more alternatives, the better the user case for world reserve cryptocurrency of cryptocurrency. While the financial system collapses, while central banks create their versions of blockchains, while central banks are waging war on retail banks with blockchains, people now have a choice, people now have an exit, and this thing is changing the world. And we need to accept that this is just the most exciting time to be alive in financial history, and we need to work together. We need to get back to understanding that the real enemies, the real people we need to be fighting against are the people that are going to invest significant chunks of money. The winner of Alex Jones's talk was banks that said, fuck Bitcoin, that shit looks crazy. One person's telling me to scam it. I'll just stick with fiat. I don't need any of this stuff, And so, that's kind of my appeal to the community right now, is that we have such a perfect opportunity to scale and touch every single person's life. And you know what, even if you don't listen to me or agree with me, if you think that the anarchy and it holds everyone to a higher standard, fine, continue on that path, because this is going to touch everyone. But I personally believe the message I try to get out, if we need to scale, we need to get our shit together, recognize that there's different user cases, and Bitcoin isn't everything to everyone, to the Bitcoin maximalists. And also the other projects, you don't need to kill Bitcoin for your project to succeed, because it ain't going nowhere. And it's the best we got for what it's achieving as the world reserve cryptocurrency for cryptocurrency. So sorry for I'm getting quite passionate about this subject, because the excitement of what's here, and then watching these kind of debates where people are just really
the clear winner of that debate yesterday was every other altcoin in the space.
Yeah, I wish I could have been there, to be a part of that, but. Let's just be grateful for what we got here. We're changing the financial world, the most largest entrenched interests. This tiny little experiment is actually captured the amount. When was the last time something had 7 billion people that know what it is? Maybe Facebook did that, maybe Google did that. I don't know. Maybe you go to some tribe in Uganda, they don't know what what Facebook is, but Bitcoin. Wherever I go, people know this shit. This is exciting. This is our time. This is what we've been waiting for. This is what we've been working towards. Would you ever imagine that banks would create trading futures for Bitcoin? They had to do that, because they cannot ignore this stuff. The IPO market is being disrupted by ICOs. Now, there's shit tons of scams. There's shit tons of problems in that. But this is the first time in history that these entrenched, Jeffrey was talking about 1933. That's when these securities laws were written. Now the SEC, Senate, they're all here meeting, discussing, my children are not going to invest in bonds. My children are not investing in stocks. They're in crypto. They don't want to touch bonds. Their first entry point is going to be crypto. This is disrupting everything, every financial market in the world. And I can't believe that's happening. In 2017, that accelerated. And in 2018, that's going to accelerate. 2020, you have Bitcoin halving. You have all this ultra innovation. Even at BnkToTheFuture, we used to know every investment deal in the industry. Every single one, we were on top of it. 30 applications a day for people looking for funding. For none of our team can keep up with that. There's
I was sending a link to that too. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
I've had this I guess vision, if you will, or position that there seems to be this, maybe one coin's going to win over another. That question's like, what's the next Bitcoin? And I firmly agree with you that Bitcoin is always there, and it's going to remain there, and we need to prop it up as such. And get out of the scaling arguments, right? Because there's a lot of innovation, and I'm a bias when I say this, but there's a lot of innovation coming to the space. And so, what's your thoughts on like true interoperability, of like cross-chain interoperability, and saying, it doesn't matter what coin you hold, we just want to move value in crypto, and we want to transact freely with people, versus, I really have to be with this coin, or I really have to be with that coin.
one of the most dangerous things that could happen to our sector is if Bitcoin became everything to everyone and controlled everything, and then there was, mass, so the fact of the matter is Bitcoin has made government fiat currencies more honest because there's an exit from the financial system.
Yep.
That's a fact now. If you choose, you have to accept volatility, which is a hard thing to do when you're trying to transact. If anyone over the last month or two was trying to buy a property, it cost you this amount or 60% less. Yeah. That's not good cash. That's why Tether was the winner from that. Tether went from 1.5 billion to 2.2 billion because everyone didn't want fiat money. They wanted stability of fiat money, but they wanted to keep it in crypto to not create a taxable event.
Right.
And so therefore, even though everyone was criticizing Tether, it went from 1.5 billion to 2.2 billion because everyone needs stability if they've locking in some kind of wealth. And that's why governments, and this is interoperability, it's not that fiat goes away, it's that crypto keeps fiat more honest because there's competition. They can't make, if they want to make cash illegal, then everyone goes to crypto. If the central banks want to control, if the central banks want to do all the things that they're going to do in terms of automatic tax collection and switching off your bank account because you traveled to Syria or whatever, then you're going to have your choice and you're going to go over to crypto. It keeps those things more honest. The same thing needs to happen with Bitcoin. I have no doubt in my mind that the Bitcoin core developers are held to a higher standard as a result of the heat that they came under from Bitcoin Cash, from Rogers, what he was doing, and that is good for all of us. And so interoperability of these blockchains is how we keep this fully decentralized, is how this industry survives, is how we scale to touch the entire world. And those two things haven't even started. Decentralized exchanges, interoperability between blockchains. We've still got that all to come. That's not factored into the market cap yet.
No, yeah, and they're just starting. We're doing something to provide that as well on our side. But that's, I think what I'd like to see is a bigger, much more stronger bridge from fiat to cryptocurrencies globally. So it's more people can get in faster and easier, and then they can make the decision on their own in what blockchain or DApp or ecosystem, whatever they want to transact or be a part of, and then turn that back around and then give that cryptocurrency back to the world by transacting, going and buying milk with Bitcoin, or maybe you want to go buy milk with Redcoin, right? Just something obscure like that. But the value should be able to be interoperable and exchangeable at the time of transaction, no matter what you hold. And so that we build this bridge and get lots of people into the space, and then now they're in crypto, and that's when the fiat world begins to kind of distance itself, right? So maybe if we get 100 million, 500 million, 2 billion people all holding crypto, once employers start paying you in cryptocurrency, once things like this happen,
my employer
that's when
does.
huge amounts of movement is going to happen in the space. Like once an employer says, hey, we pay in Bitcoin only, and you think everyone gets paid in fiat. So once you start paying them in crypto, they start transacting in crypto.
There's a service I came across called, I think it's called Revolt, where what you do is you tell your employer, pay me to this bank account, and then you actually receive it in crypto, which is what the service does. Right? So you
Bitwage does the same thing.
Bitwage is kind of like that, right?
Yeah.
But it's kind of like Uphold, but the other way around.
Right.
Yeah. We were one of the investors in Bitwage.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Well, and definitely, like, kind of addressing a point you made is that there's room for plenty of crypto here, and like you said, the Bitcoin maximalism, I think, is, if not dead, it's going to die, because it's increasingly clear that back in the day, 5 years ago, say, or 3 years ago, even, you could claim that it was Bitcoin and only Bitcoin, but nowadays, there's room for all sorts of different crypto to do different things. And when Bitcoin Cash came along, I'm still pro Bitcoin Cash. And for a little bit, I was anti-Bitcoin, or at least I don't want to put it that way. Maybe I thought Bitcoin was dead. I've actually come to the opinion that there's room for both. There's a good chance. I don't want to say there's 100% chance, but I think there's a very, very good chance Bitcoin's going to stick around, because much like you were saying, there's the perception in the general public and even in the crypto space that it's the crypto, it's the original crypto. It's still by far the most secure crypto. And even though it's lost some market share as far as capitalization, having the highest market cap means it's deep and liquid. So if you want to transfer large amounts of money in Bitcoin, unlike any other crypto, it won't affect the market price of Bitcoin as much as it would affect the market price of, say, Bitcoin Cash.
Right.
So that's actually a huge thing. So, but like you said, that means it's more of a Bitcoin Gold than a Bitcoin for everybody. Now, again, with developments like Lightning Network or other things, Bitcoin could become Bitcoin for everybody. But for the time being, it's Bitcoin Gold, and it really does serve that purpose. And like I said yesterday during the debate, if you still compare Bitcoin to the legacy banking system, it's still superior, at least, again, for gold, if you will. Because if you want to send $1 million in Bitcoin around the world to somebody, you can do it directly peer-to-peer. Maybe you pay $100, or now it's lower fees. Maybe you pay $50. That's way cheaper.
Right, and there's no one knocking on your door. You know, there's no list. There's no approval process.
Union, you have to fill out
there's nothing. You just send it, and that's
and with you just add a little more to the fee, and you can get it done within a few minutes or hours. And you can't do that in the legacy banking system with a lot of money. So Bitcoin really has plenty of advantages still, and public perception of Bitcoin as the crypto is also huge, because public perception can make the difference in the success or failure of any crypto or any project. So, and a friend of mine brought this up to me when I was watching the Super Bowl, and I realized he was so right that, like, psychology is still important too about the perception of Bitcoin. And like Simon was saying too, I realized that it's not about Bitcoin Core versus Bitcoin Cash, say, because in the end, if you think about it, they do serve different purposes. Again, Bitcoin Gold and then Bitcoin Cash, gold versus cash, they aren't necessarily at odds with each other.
In fact, though, I would argue that cash and gold can't be together. I would argue that Bitcoin becoming a global savings account that encourages savings over taking on debt like fiat, because the value goes down. So with fiat, the right strategy is to take on debt. With Bitcoin, the right strategy is to spend your shit money and keep your good money.
Yeah.
And that's why it is a global savings account. I recognize and I appreciate the utility of it is very important. But the utility as a global store of value, and then the different things that you can do with Lightning Network and SegWit and all these things that will come out, I believe will support it. But I would argue that good cash is not an investment. You don't invest in dollars, you spend dollars. Mm-hmm. You want your rent to be the same all year, right? So if you do create digital cash, then if it goes up in value and it becomes a good investment, you'll stop spending that cash naturally, because you'll realize we're all Bitcoin pizza guy. And so naturally, no one wants to be Bitcoin pizza guy. We've all been Bitcoin pizza guy. We've all spent Bitcoin, and we all look back and say, holy shit, that pizza cost me, $100 million or something. And that's the reality of a fixed class digital, a fixed supply digital scarce good. And so if Bitcoin Cash is a fixed supply digital scarce good and actually achieves its goal, then the price will keep going up and people will stop spending it, because people don't want to spend it. So it's why we have fiat currencies. Fiat currencies say, you can take the anarchist view, or you can take the normal, the view of someone that believes in governments.
Reality.
Either governments are using fiat in order to control everything, do everything, and fine, I subscribe to some of that. But also, governments have a goal to try and, create maximum employment in their thing and have stable currencies and circulate money so that it spends around the economy. And in order to have that, you have to have stable pricing, because with volatility, you have Zimbabwe, okay? That's why cryptos backed by fiat, they have counterparty risk problems. Someone's got to put the money in the bank, and then whoever that is, whether it's Tether or whatever, can get attacked by the FBI, can ask to be shut down by the Taiwanese government or whatever. But you won't get stable fixed supply. So, if you want Bitcoin Cash, you need no fixed supply. You need to actually change it. You need inflation built in to create global stability, whatever that is. Otherwise you're going to have volatility, and volatility encourages savings if it's got the same economics as Bitcoin. So I would argue that anyone trying to achieve the goal of cash will end up becoming digital gold if they achieve their goal, unless they have a variable money supply. And then when you have variable money supply, you have to have central planning, and who's qualified to do that central planning? However, if you have a global savings account that's interoperable with different blockchains that allow you to spend your Bitcoin more cheaply, or create a smart contract on a different blockchain, or do a Lightning channel, or do 67,000 transactions per second on EOS, or whatever it is, then that's how we're going to scale. That's how we're going to take on the world. That's how we're going to win. That's how this is going to change. And I have no doubt it's going to happen. It's just a question of how fast is it that we want to get there.
I don't know what economist said this, but it was a great point on cryptocurrencies. We use the suffix of this phrase is currency, right? And so in our minds, it's something you can spend or whatever. And they use the word and perception, the psychology of this with the 95% of the people out in the world that don't actually hold Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency, and that was the word money. And until everyone else can just see it as money, it's going to be, we have to create all the infrastructure we're just talking about, like those chains and the interoperability, and not fighting one coin versus another and making it spendable. So really all you want to be able to do is move value for value. Say any place, person, or thing, for whatever in whatever medium that you want to exchange it at. And I think once we get to that place, that's when, in my humble opinion, that's when the wave hits, man. That's whatever curve of adoption. Once these things are worked out, that's when the curve hits. Because when I can just go and buy anything I want with whatever crypto I'm holding, and it doesn't matter, I can just be a human and transact with my economy that's around me, and I'm not really held back, or I'm not scratching my head. It's like, should I spend this coin today or that coin? It just shouldn't matter. It's like I'm just going to spend this today.
Yeah.
Well, if you look back at history too, like particularly in the 19th century, you had circulating banknotes that were backed by gold, and the existence of banknotes were for ease of use. But there's a comparison to Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, because Bitcoin Cash has ease of use relative to Bitcoin Core, but Bitcoin Core has that gold quality because of the high security that no one else has, which isn't just about high security for cryptocurrency transactions. It's about high security for using the blockchain of Bitcoin itself for data, for data entry on the ledger, right? Yeah. So sometimes we forget that Bitcoin is more than just a currency. It's also that blockchain. So the fact that it's that most secure blockchain also adds to its value. So what I'm saying is, back in the early days when you had circulating banknotes, that didn't drive out the use of gold as a money. It may have reduced or mostly eliminated the circulation of gold as a money, but that didn't mean that people didn't keep it as a store of value on which they base the value of the circulating banknotes. So it'll be the same thing with Bitcoin Cash. Or in like manner, there was a time when it was silver and gold, and partly due to market forces, partly due to government decrees, you had people would just spend the silver only, and they would hoard the gold. They call it Gresham's Law.
Yep.
And so, but that didn't mean that, again, that didn't mean that the gold just, no one used it anymore, no one valued it. It was quite the opposite. Right. So
I was going to say, there's what Simon was talking about in his talk about, there's a problem with having any other coin than Bitcoin, because Bitcoin has no leader, has no center, etc., and that's its benefit, right? The downside to that and the plus side to having a leader is that there can be a declaration about what it is, right? Like Dash Digital Cash. Once that declaration is there, it's like starting a business. You know what market you're serving. The challenge with Bitcoin is there's no consensus as to what it is. And you're campaigning for digital gold. I agree with you there. The challenge with getting everyone to agree on that and then pushing development in that direction is the challenge, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, no one needed to agree. You just need to put your whole car cash into Bitcoin and realize what a great savings account that was. And that's why Bitcoin dominance is a really bullshit statistic, by the way. It's like, say, I haven't looked at stocks for ages, but when I was working in the stock market, we had the FTSE 100 in UK, and Vodafone was the most dominant stock within the FTSE 100.
Right.
Now, what happened with the FTSE 100 is it always stayed as 100. For that very same reason, because people were talking about Vodafone dominance within FTSE 100. It didn't go to the FTSE 250 and the FTSE 350 and the FTSE 450 and expand and expand and expand. And in the case of crypto, you've got Bitcoin, which was just a phenomenal savings account. Let's just face it. You know, if you held, you might have done better by speculating on Ethereum. You wouldn't have had the same, you know, you would have got higher returns, but not risk adjusted. Mm-hmm. You might have put it all in ICOs and got huge bumps, and maybe you lost it all. But you need to be professional traders to actually figure out, you know, whether you did that or not. It was a bull market. Everyone made money. Everyone got rich. But saying Bitcoin dominance, because Bitcoin dominance doesn't say, here's the 100 largest coins. It says, here's Bitcoin compared to 20 coins. Oh, now 100 coins. Oh, now 500 coins. Oh, now 1,000 coins. Now 5,000 coins. It's going to go down and down and down and down and down and down because you're increasing the number of coins that is competing with it. And at the same time, there was shit tons of pump and dumps, shit tons of scams. You add all those as well, add it all in, you know, and then you're going to get a decrease in Bitcoin dominance. But look at the reality, the cold hard reality. How did Bitcoin do as digital gold? Well, if you held your money in gold, you had an extremely safe asset class, and your value was probably the same as when you started. If you held your money in Bitcoin, you accumulated wealth. You know, you accumulated serious wealth, higher than any other asset class in the world. You accumulated, there's a reason why there's so much money in our industry right now, because people took Bitcoin and some of them put it in Ethereum, and those two things drove an incredible amount of wealth in this industry that was then rediverted into ICOs that then created more wealth and more perception, and then that drove loads and loads of more people in until eventually the regulators needed to realize if we continue on this path we were on in 2017, the entire market was about to implode. I'm talking traditional market. People were about to do an ICO in order to buy Google stock, in order to buy it out, in order to gain control and mix it with Tor or something like that. You know, if you can do an ICO to raise funding from anyone for anything in any amount, and the numbers are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, that was going to consume everything. That was going to take out every part of government control. That was going to take out every part of bank power. And if that path continued, they were about to lose all of that. Of course, they're going to regulate it. Of course, they're going to call these things securities. This is the only way that they can get that. Of course, the banks are going to have, you know, are going to get in on this business, because no millennial, no one young, no one, you know, under the age of, what's the gold guy? Peter Schiff. Yeah, no one under the age of Peter Schiff buys gold stocks or bonds anymore. They might buy some gold, but the entry point is crypto. It's boring as shit to them. It's just something they're not going to do anymore. You know, we're in a world of two-tiered markets, a regulated market and a fully decentralized peer-to-peer market. Both are booming. If you need to get your fiat into crypto, then you need to do KYC, you need to take counterparty risk, you need to go through a hedge fund, you need to do something stupid like give your money to a traditional financial institution that charges a load of fees and adds a load of counterparty risk for the benefit of them storing it for you. Or people are going to realize one step at a time that's a stupid plan, a bad idea, they're going to lose their money, they're going to get goxed, and then they're going to, in the end of it, they're either going to disappear and say that was all a scam, or they're going to go and get a Trezor or a Ledger and a hardware wallet, and they're going to learn that they can own their own money, spend their own money, and the monetary policy of some of these things is transparent, and you can judge the monetary policy up front, as opposed to it being a moving target because they're trying to do something that suits their employment goals or country's goals or corruption or whatever you want to call it. And so it's going to be a movement from this to this. It's just when you first start, you need to sign up with Coinbase. You're not going to go straight to learning what a hardware wallet is and learning personal security. Everyone I know, they use the same password for their email and everything else. Mm-hmm. You know, these people can't own crypto yet. They need password managers. They need 2FA. They need to stop using SMS where you can call the phone operator and turn off someone's 2FA. You know, personal security needs to be learned. So in the transition, everyone's going to go through the regulated route. They're going to take their fiat. and then they're going to eventually get GOX because counterparty risk doesn't exist in this own your own, thing. And then they're going to start owning their own thing. Then we're going to have personal sovereignty. And we talked about earlier, the routes in. You're either going to do it the KYC route, and this is why mining is important, because mining allows you to take fiat money, invest it in machinery, and get Bitcoin or a cryptocurrency out. That is extremely important. Maybe a shit investment, compared to actually buying the crypto, but my fiat to buy machinery to crypto, and then crypto to whatever you want, virgin coins, at that point. That's important. That's why mining is a really important part of it. And that's why Goldman Sachs are now paying, huge premiums in order to buy virgin coins from Jihan Wu and all the other miners, because they're virgin coins and they got the traceability behind that. Now, the next argument, once we get over this scaling debate, that we recognize we've got these different chains, you experiment with that, you experiment with that, you experiment with that, we need more fungibility. And that was the end, I think, the talk where Roger then came out and said, hey, what? We can then, Core, you might come up with the best way to create fungibility, anonymity, privacy. I'll be back on your side at that point. That's where we need to get. That's the next big battle. Every government, every agency in the world and every company's Bitfury is developing technology right now for the governments in order to trace and track everything. And, that could end up, that's a path we got to focus on. We got to get back to what this conference was about in 2011. Privacy, exit from financial system, not pump and dumps and arguing about, I got to kill your coin in order to make my coin so I can get richer. Let's return back to that. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, well said. Well, let's, it's been a fun discussion. Let's switch gears though. I do want to address your ICO, actually.
My pump and dump scheme.
No, I didn't say that. Don't
He
don't
did
spread
before
that
you got
perception
here.
around.
He said it before you got here. No,
Shh, I told you not to tell him. No, I'm just kidding. Well, and clarify something for me. Are you still doing Bank to the Future?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So Bank to the Future has been through a really interesting path. Look, we were doing ICOs before ICOs existed. They weren't ICOs. They weren't tokenized. They were equity.
By the way, I found your A. It's on his hat.
You found my A?
It's on his hat.
All right. There it is. Acapulco.
I've got a question about Bank to the Future, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I have an account, and I noticed that you guys started doing the KYC stuff recently.
We've always done KYC. We're a regulated institution. We have to do that. Are you a U.S. citizen? Yeah. So U.S. So we own we're a shareholder in a U.S. broker dealer, and in order to now the SEC is getting really hot on this. All of our U.S. customers have to go through our U.S. broker dealer, and therefore we had to re-sign up with our U.S. broker dealer for the protection of this. Yeah. Yeah. So we've always done KYC as a securities business. We've always had to, but so yeah, that was what's happened there. But yeah, well, with Bank to the Future, as I said, we were doing ICOs before ICOs were around with equity in a regulated environment. We did extremely well from our investments in crypto. So we no longer needed to create a scalable tech startup and sell it to VCs. So we decided to dedicate the whole platform and all our licenses that we spent years trying to acquire to supporting the Bitcoin and blockchain industry. So we got equity in companies that you just can't get equity from anymore. We got equity in Bitfinex, Bitstamp, Kraken, BitPay, BitPayzer, UnoCoin, Bitso, over 100 different of the most valuable companies in the industry.
Wow.
And you can't find companies that will sell equity anymore because
and all of that without an A.
And all of that without an A. Yeah. But the bank, the A still redirects. We've got both URLs. So,
right.
Yeah.
But I mean, can you clarify why there's no A? So people will know what the difference is between you and an actual bank.
Owns the domain BnkToTheFuture.com. I wrote the book, Bank to the Future with an A. And in order to create a global online investment platform, the IMF has regulatory things that they impose on every other regulator, stating that you can only have a bank in your name if you are a bank. What does a bank mean? Well, that definition has kind of changed over time, but most people believe that a bank has FDIC insurance in the case of the US, and therefore, if you have deposits with that institution, there is some government or insurance scheme to try and bail it out if all goes wrong. Forget the fact that they're insolvent and they don't have those, and they're running up Ponzi schemes with that anyway, but they're backed by a government Ponzi scheme. Okay.
Right.
So the word bank becomes an important thing, because even though consumers probably don't know or know this, so the IMF will go down on any regulator. You've got to get permission to use the word bank. So we also, at first, we didn't want to do that. The Isle of Man government gave us the word bank to the future, and then they got actually attacked by the Bank of England, saying that we're going to take away all your GBP deposits for your country.
Wow.
And they also got attacked by the IMF, saying you can't allow a company to have bank in their name.
That's how the states are.
Yeah.
So
you know,
you have to have a proper license to have a bank.
So we've taken a branding strategy over it now. We're not a bank. Originally, when we tried to, you know, if you read my original book, Bank to the Future, I was all about building a bank, a non-fractional reserve bank. It turned out Bitcoin created it, so we just jumped on that bandwagon. They created something that we could never create. In order to have a global, scalable business, we had to play by regulators' rules, because, you know, we're using this technology. We're in that transition intersection world. So we took the A out of our name, and now, you know, that's it. We're playing by the rules, but now we're not a bank. I quite like it now.
Isn't one of your books called "How the Bank Stole My A"?
Well, my final book.
Okay.
Once crypto takes the world, and we're all recognized for our contribution to society, for what we created here at the World Crypto Show, then my final book, I've been meaning to write a book for ages. The book was written in 2011. Can you imagine how much Bitcoin's changed since then? I think it was the first published book that included Bitcoin. I haven't seen another one.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I mean, 2011 we were writing that. I went to the first conference, and that provided a lot of content for that. But yeah, the final book I want to write, and I actually did give you the exclusive. It was on the World Crypto Show. The Crypto Show, sorry. The Crypto Show.
I like the World Crypto Show, though.
No, that's it's the World Crypto Network.
Show.
Yeah, The Bank Stole My A is the final title.
Nice.
Well, we've broadcast from Colombia, London, Acapulco.
Well, we have worldwide listenership.
Yeah.
So
You are the World Crypto Show.
We are number one in Jakarta.
in an apartment
Jakarta,
complex in
Indonesia,
Jakarta.
for some reason. We don't know why, but
Okay.
Well, and that's excellent. You've been an innovator in the field, like you said, doing the first ICOs, though not technically tokenized.
No, they're not tokenized.
And it's been very successful. Yeah. And so, tell us more about.
it's just retarded how. Okay, if you remove this letter, you're now no longer harm to the public.
I know.
What the fuck is that?
Especially when you still pronounce it bank. And so,
Did you guys see what happened to Arise Bank? Which was I don't know if they were based in the U.S., but they used the name Arise Bank. They launched an ICO. I think their initial coin price was like $150, and they had TM on absolutely everything on their website all the way down. It's like everything was a trademark, and so they were purporting themselves like an actual bank in the States, and so they got immediate cease and desist and return your funds, and you know you're in the penalty box. So I don't know. I don't know if they're going to come back out or what, but I think they said they raised $600 million. Their goal was $1 billion. Who knows what actually happened? At least it was a real website. It didn't say like penis on it, like whatever that other scam was that we saw a couple of weeks ago. But they used the word bank, and they purported themselves as a bank. Even they said we're a decentralized bank. The same problem. If you use the word bank, you better carry the license, or the governments are going to come after you.
This is the bit that made me laugh about ICOs, because the whole time from the first one I was saying these are securities. These are going to be securities. This is extremely disruptive, and I'll invest in these things because I hope you win. But if not, we're here with the licenses when they need them, and we're here that someone knows what it means to be a Bitcoiner and has been around. And so that's why Bank to the Future finds itself at this interesting turning point, because we got disrupted by tokens. But we were investing in them all. So, we don't mind the disruption, whichever way it happens. It turned out that the companies don't want to offer equity anymore. It's too valuable. They give away tokens. And no one wanted to buy equity anymore because it's not liquid. So we reached this turning point where that then became larger than stock markets and all sorts of stuff.
Wow.
This market, tokens consumed everything, and they were about to consume everything. We had people in the scams as well. We had people in China. Someone did an ICO for Bank to the Future, and it wasn't us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I've got all screenshots of like 16 different ICOs where I was the advisor in Jakarta and China, and I had nothing to do with any of them
before. Yeah,
none of them.
The
scams were getting insane. There's no doubt that that's why the exchanges got shut down in China, because the scams were getting insane.
Well, imitation is a serious form of flattery, right? So, I mean, not that it's a good thing ultimately, but at least it shows that you're doing something right. If people want to pretend they're you. Yeah. Well, tell us more about the ICO. So, has it already been issued? Is it going to be issued?
Yeah, so we decided that we do our own token. We want to create a second. We want to take the best of what we learned from the token market and combine it with the best of what we know from equity. Simple thing. We want to create a securities exchange whereby you can tokenize real assets, equity, use our suite of licenses to do that in a compliant way. And therefore investors can invest in that in a way where they're not going to get shut down, because we're doing the correct registrations, we're doing the correct filing, and we're doing everything by the rules that we have to play by as a securities business, as a broker-dealer, as an ATS registered with the SEC and FINRA.
Is this going to include cryptocurrencies that would be deemed securities as well?
We will probably, so our journey is that we were doing equity as we've always done everything as securities. Yeah. So any investment that was made through our platform was done as a security, compliant with securities laws as best we could.
But most of those don't offer tokens though, right?
No, they were actual equity, but then the way that we structured it is we own the equity and we could tokenize that equity.
Gotcha.
So if people want to exchange their equity for a token that's backed by the equity, then we can create a marketplace and create the liquidity.
These other companies.
We haven't fully decided exactly what we want to do, because we don't want to do it without the companies opting.
That's like the biggest ETF in crypto ever. That would be amazing. I'm buying in.
But no, that wasn't the ICO that we did. The ICO, the token sale that we had to do. So we're creating this, and then everyone, all the companies got really jealous of, someone like blockchain.info could only raise like 30 million because they were still begging VCs. And yet, like Bancor comes along with an idea and raises 150 million in a few seconds for something that's, no one knows what it is or whether it's going to work. And so the large companies were getting really jealous. They wanted to do the ICOs, but they had brands, reputations, a lot to lose. Right. That they couldn't be as risque with securities laws as some of these things were. So we believe that the multi-trillion-dollar market here, the disruption is going to come in taking traditional assets, using tokens. Blockchain Capital did the first VC fund that way, and we're set up to be able to do that. So we want to create a securities exchange. Now, here's our biggest problem. We had two big problems at Bank to the Future that we couldn't solve. One, the deal flow went through the roof. We were getting 30 applications a day.
Oh, wow.
We just couldn't handle that. And not only that, originally we were in fintech and Bitcoin and blockchain. We knew everyone in the industry. We understood the industry. All of a sudden, every mother and their son's getting into building blockchains in verticals like biotech and things we just don't know how to analyze. Right. So we needed to put some kind of process of involving the crowd and involving people in this process. So essentially it was a coin to incentivize people with helping perform due diligence. We're creating some kind of more decentralized process for listing on Bank to the Future, still following all the securities laws that we know that we need to follow, but involving token holders and rewarding them for that. And then we worked with Smith & Crown to put together the token economics. And the one thing we're very proud of, our pre-sale sold out in 15 hours, and the public sale sold out in 2 minutes and 17 seconds.
Wow. And how much did y'all raise?
33 million, and we stopped it there.
Nice.
Our support ticket was through the roof. I cannot believe, I still remember the days in 2010 of hustling, meeting after meeting, trying to get someone to put $250,000 into this thing. And now it's just like everyone around the world is trying to chuck millions
all over
into,
themselves to give
which
you
is
money,
just
basically.
insane, which is just such an incredible change in the world.
When you got a solid platform, you have a solid upside. So,
Sure.
I mean, yeah, I think it's a testament to, what you're doing.
Here's the thing I'm proud of most, and this is what the standard that I'd like tokens to kind of get to. I don't know how we're going to get there. Every single person, whether it was an institutional investor or a Bank to the Future accredited investor or a Bank to the Future member from whatever country they were from, or the public sale, everyone paid the exact same price. There was no bonuses, no discounts, no backhand deals.
Very democratic.
And because this is where all the SEC stuff's going to happen. This is where the regulators are going to clamp down. The VCs are forcing the tokens to give them 100% discount, launch a pump and dump scheme. They're not incentivized for the price to go up. They can sell at 100% discount to the retail, and the retail is paying the full price to the VC.
Still walk off. Yeah, I'm a firm believer in the same thing, where our ICO is the same thing. There is no discounts, bounties, and backhand deals. What you see is what you get. It's the price for everyone the same. And we spend a lot of time looking at the economics of that. So I applaud you on that, and I hope that they all do this.
Yeah. It's hard to do, though, because the big money will hustle you for discounts. And we had to say no to all that money. They did it anyway in the end, because if you got a good deal, you got a good deal. But, where this seems to be moving is the big discounts seems to be the ones to avoid now.
Yeah, I think like a 20% or less on a SAF is about, I wouldn't call it industry standard or traditional, because nothing is standard or traditional right now. But, we are entertaining a 20% discount SAF just for VCs. But there's a lockup period as well. So it's not like you can just dump them as soon as you get them. We want the retail markets to open up and then transact. And, on ours, you get your tokens the moment you purchase them. They're actively usable and consumable in that moment. And I think this is where the industry should go. A PDF and an idea and raising 130 million, and we still don't know a year and a half later what it really is and if it does anything it says it's going to do, versus like, hey, here's a product, here's a token, get into crypto economics right now.
But what it did prove, and it proved to the world, that if you can create liquidity in these things, there's a lot of money that wants to enter this. And there's a lot of people that want to enter this that would not have entered traditional markets. And the the Senate hearing, if you listen to them, you say, my children are not going to buy bonds. My children are not going to buy stocks. They're buying crypto, and they ain't going to buy anything else. The cat's out of the bag. This changes everything, and people ask me, are ICO scams? I say, yeah. Are ICOs going to change the world? Yeah. Are ICOs a new way of raising funding for something that never would have got funded before, like Ethereum? Yeah.
Yeah.
Are ICOs ways for extremely unqualified people that have no idea of what to do with 100 million to burn a load of money and buy Lambos? Yeah. It's buyer beware. It's all of the above, but it's here. It ain't going away. And, this is our new financial paradigm. And this is what people just need to get used to. And everyone's got to navigate that. Governments don't know what to do with that. Regulators don't know what to do with that. They're like, well, we've got jurisdiction over this, but we don't have jurisdiction over that. This institution is in charge of tax. That one's in charge of commodities. This one's in charge of stocks. Well, Bitcoin's all of the above. And this one's a technology protocol. This is disruption at the highest level. And it's really exciting. Yeah, absolutely. Not just disruption in currency, disruption in equity and asset markets. And that's going to revolutionize everything in finance. Well, we should probably wrap things up. But where do you go from here then after this very successful ICO? Well, now we get to what we've always been doing, which is building, adapting to what the market throws at us. We try to forecast the market. I could not have predicted that Bitcoin would have hard forked into 3-4 different versions. But as this market there's never a boring day, there's never a dull day. And there's never a moment where there's nothing new to learn. So, whatever I tell you right now, what we're going to do over the next year, I can tell you the market's going to change that. And we're here to adjust to the market. We're here to adjust to what this market throws us. And again, back to our original vision, the original thing I wrote about in that book, I believe the future of finance is very different from the past. And thankfully, Bitcoin came along and created something that nobody owns, that nobody controls, that is actually facilitating the world's innovation into this. And that's just, we'll go where the market takes us. The market is moving fast and swift. And, we have to adjust to that environment, but, we're here to stay. We've been here for a long time. And the strategy just might need to change. But yeah, we're looking at launching the securities token market. Really excited about that.
Awesome. And last question, are you going to be able to take on more applications as a result of this new funding?
So we're going to build an actual platform whereby our community of token holders are rewarded for actually voting on what they think should be on Bank to the Future.
Okay, that's interesting.
And they can actually perform due diligence and get rewarded for good work. We are a centralized platform. We're not fully decentralized, but we're one step at a time incorporating different bits of decentralized into us. But I still maintain that decentralization doesn't solve everything. Sometimes centralization is extremely efficient, fast, and a better way of doing things. But the bits that do help with decentralization, we'll look to adopt those and improve, and we're always open to feedback. And now, we've got all these token holders, and they hold you very accountable. They're an interesting bunch of people, ultra skeptical, and that keeps you honest.
Right.
Are you guys still looking for companies that may offer points?
We're open to applications. I mean, we do, in our centralized model, we have a 95% rejection rate. Only 5% of the deals got on. But now we're looking to adjust to this more decentralized model, one step at a time. And we'll see where that takes us. It might be a failed experiment. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, hopefully not. I think it'll be pretty successful, I think. So, well, awesome. Well, Simon Dixon, Bank to the Future. They're very successful ICO. I like this voting idea and not just voting idea, but incentivizing your token holders to do due diligence and rewarding them for such. That's a pretty cool part of this concept. So I think you're going to continue to innovate and continue to be very successful. So thanks, Simon. Appreciate it as always. And we'll have you back on in the Bank to the Future. I was trying to make a pun. In the near future.
In the near future.
The what? The bunk.
So is that the currency symbol? Did you have to drop the A too?
No, it's BF tokens. So we're BF is Bank Future.
BF tokens. Sorry, my mind went.
BFT is the ticker.
BFT.
Yeah, BNK is taken. I'm sure BNK got a huge bump out of this. But
yeah, but if you called it bank coin and kept the A in there, someone would probably come out.
It's a bit like it's hilarious. Sorry if we've got to go, but BitConnect when Bitcoin Cash launches BCC, that's when the huge BitConnect Ponzi scheme started to reach record highs. And there's danger in these tickers. I'm sure BNK is getting a huge pump out of BF token launching. But BitConnect, that was really hyper accelerated when Bitcoin Cash had the ticker BCC, and then it kind of changed to BCH, and now what is it? I'm not sure.
All right. Well, excellent interview as always with Simon. Like I said, we'll have you on in the near future, and congratulations once again.
Okay, thanks, guys.
All right. We'll see y'all at the next interview, guys.